morning. Welcome to my kitchen. My name's Lynn. I'm president of God Squad Canada, a men's organization encouraging men. So I'd like to share with you today my sourdough cinnamon buns. These, as you can see, the dough's been rising for a while, and gotta get it out and work it to make it into buns. St. Joseph is a big part of my life, and he's a model that we try to use for men's ministry, and has been the patron of God Squad for quite some time. And one of his attributes is wisdom, and that's where, when we're talking about sweetness, Proverbs, "My son, eat honey, for it is good, and the drippings of the honeycomb are sweet to your taste. Know that wisdom is such to your soul, for you find it, there will be a future, and your hope will not be cut off." So that's where these sweetbreads, they're extremely popular, my cinnamon buns, and they bring people together, because that's where wisdom, as the conference suggests, love in the kitchen, is shared quite often around the kitchen table. These, whether it's friends or family, are very popular. My kids, quite often, they'll make requests for this for Easter, Christmas, or many a special occasion. And I've been known to offer these for silent auctions at times, and they amaze me how much they went for last year. So there's a hunger out there. And there's a hunger in men, especially young men, for somebody to share that wisdom with them. And we need to work on that, to share that with the young men. But to share, you need to bring people together. And that's where these do a wonderful job of bringing people together. Everybody loves them. There's usually a great excitement when I make them. And yesterday, friends of ours at the church had she was getting confirmed because she realized she'd never been confirmed, and they were requesting these cinnamon buns. As you can see by the dough, it's easy to work dough. It's strong, and that's where, when we bring men together, like the ingredients, there's a strength there, and they feel like they're part of something. And we need to do that as much as we can to invite men, especially the young men, back to our parishes, back to our church, and give them a roadmap on how to get there. And part of that starts with fellowship, with creating an atmosphere for them to to come together. We do barbecue outreach as one of the ministries that trying to reach men where they're at, but it also is an example of men in service for our community. We've done all kinds of different things over the years. As you can see, I'm quite liberal with the butter here. It's just a little firmer than I want. It's not spreading quite the way I want, but we'll work it with our hands. It's okay to get in there and get dirty, because that's what life is. Life is quite often messy and dirty. And we'll continue to get in there and work. We're all the way around here. You got to get it all the way to the ends, because you want that sweet, caramely, sugary, cinnamony. And what's interesting is cinnamon is actually quite bitter, but that's where adding the sweetness makes something good. And God is that sweetness that we can add to people's lives and walk with them and impart the wisdom. Wisdom is always described as something that is needed, desperately needed. And our world today is no different. Oh, for some more wisdom in our world. Should be our prayer, because knowing God's will and working at it is what we should all be at. That should all be our goal, our striving for. I have seen the business that God has given to the sons of men to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in the time. Also, he has put eternity into man's mind, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I know there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Also, that it is God's gift to the man that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. Eat and drink. Take pleasure in the toil. Cinnamon buns. That is pleasure. I know that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken away from it. God has made it so, in order that men should fear before him. That which is already has been, that which is to be already has been, and God seeks whatever has been driven away. So God's looking for you too. God wants you there. And that's why he's put the mind of eternity in. Because this is just a fleeting moment. He talks about eating and drinking, because it is good. These are gifts from God. And that's where I like doing these cinnamon buns, because it's me telling my family that I love them, that I care about them. I want them to enjoy life, and that it's not all bad. God has made a beautiful time for us. There will be hard times, yes, and I just gotta spread this out a bit, break up some of these clumps. But we want our children to grow in love of God, because we have the mind of that eternity. And that's where that wisdom is a gift from God to show us that life is fleeting here. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have hard struggles. But imagine a friend that's going through a hard time and you show up with some cinnamon buns and have a coffee with them and just be there with them. Impart any wisdom that you have. Men especially need this. They need to be felt together, to fellowship, because too many of them are alone out there and don't have somebody to journey with. They feel all alone, and that's not of God. God does not want us to feel alone. God wants us to be together. And so I challenge the men all the time, especially you see that young man that most would call a punk or whatever, because show him a smile, give him some love, and you'll never know if that makes the difference in that person's life that day. But don't be afraid to join them and on their journey. We're all called to journey together. And it's so many men need us to help them. As you can see, I'm being quite liberal with the cinnamon. This is a bold taste, but it will be balanced by the butter and sugar, the sweetness and the fat. You'll hear fat many times in the Bible, and then with it, so you need the fat, the sweet, the bitter. They all roll into one and become this beautiful gift from God, actually. And I talked about the dough, the sourdough. I don't know if many of you have worked with sourdough, but I know our sourdough is probably 40 years old, the original, because it's my dad's. It's a gift that he gave me. And you need to continually feed it. And that's much like our kids with wisdom. Our family, fellow men, we need to feed them in order for them to grow. And some raisins. I know you're 50-50 out there. Maybe, I think it's higher than 50-50. Yeah. Because the Bible talks about raisins being gifts, especially to David. I'm going through that in the Bible in a year right now, and there's lots of raisins being as part of the food. But what I do is I'll do 50-50 sometimes. It depends who I'm making these for. These ones I'm making for Mother's Day, and the moms like the raisins, so I'm gonna put a little more on. I'll leave a little bit without the raisins just because a few of my kids don't like the raisins. So I don't know where that comes from. They're not following their dad's wisdom, I guess. Because raisins are fantastic. Then we start rolling. And this is a thing of patience as well, to roll up your cinnamon buns. Trying to spread these raisins out a little better. They're a little clumped, but that's okay. Once we get this thing rolling, it goes pretty good. It's just getting that start. Close the ends here. Don't want it all falling out. And we start the slice. They're already very big, so I'm not cutting them too thick. Because one of these is a meal. Give you a little story about, so we had made these young family from the church, and a guy I work with just lives a block away, and I had given them some of the cinnamon buns before, so asked if there was something I could bring, and they requested the cinnamon buns. And what's funny was they really liked them, and they were walking by, and the daughter asked the mom if they could stop by and visit, thinking that there was an endless supply of cinnamon buns here. There's another thing you can do too, is if you got a little bit left over, not quite enough for another pan, you can make it into a loaf. That's what I'll do with this one. And then you don't want to leave all this good stuff here, so you sprinkle it on top here. And then, like all breads, you have to let it rise. And that's where the beauty of sourdough is, that it takes patience, but it's so worth it in the end. Well, I'm going to put these in a place to let rise for an hour or two. They found an Egyptian in the open country and brought him to David. And they gave him bread and he ate. They gave him water to drink. They gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit revived. So we got the raisins, we got the bread, and that's what we want to do for men, is revive the spirit of men within the church, being those servant leaders, laying down their life as Christ did for the church. And that's why making cinnamon buns for when I did men's breakfast meetings were extremely popular. They brought them in where we could share a breakfast, have some fellowship, watch That Man Is You or Capon's Men, or there's lots of great programs out there. You can find most of them on heroicmen.com or the app of Heroic Men, which I highly recommend. And it helps pass on that wisdom, pass on to especially the younger men, the wisdom that we garner from walking with God. And with my buddy St. Joseph, you see him up here teaching Jesus how to walk. The print's called Walking with God. And we need to do that with our families, and that's where these are extremely popular with the family, to sit down and share together. I'm taking these for Mother's Day over to my brothers, and they create that warmth. Nothing says I love you like preparing something in the kitchen for your family. And I highly encourage men to find something, whether it's something you do on the grill or in the kitchen, a Sunday brunch, something that dads prepare for their family. Men prepare for their loved ones, and it shows that they're loved. I know my grandkids, Papa, make your crepes, Papa, make your crepes. My older kids, the cinnamon buns, homemade bagels with cream cheese and lox is another favorite one. So whatever that is that says I love you to your family. Brisket on the smoker is another very popular one here. So just reach out, follow God's will, and do what God's calling you to do. Be a man after his own heart. And there's no better person to walk with than Saint Joseph. Allow him to join you for love in the kitchen as he rests at your table and joins you and your family wherever they're at. God bless you and have a great day, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this.